So now we're looking at the Jira backlog, and as we just looked at, we looked at a lot of different ways to create things, creating stories, tasks, bugs, those sorts of things. All that work ends up here in something called the backlog. So right now I'm looking at the backlog for one of our teams, and you can see there's piles and piles and piles of stuff. There's stories, there's bugs, there's enhancements, there's tasks, there's lots of work here to do, and you can scroll all the way down to the very bottom, lots and lots of work. So how do we manage this? The most important thing is understanding that this backlog needs to be prioritized, understanding what work needs to be done first, and that's as simple as basically the order it appears on this list. So this one, investigating Azure, that's the one we're going to do first, and then gathering French translations. And we're going to go down this list. This is the order we want to do work, and we work with product owners and the teams to identify the order of work we want to do, what's most important to get done. If we're working in this, we want to reprioritize things. It's fairly straightforward. I'll just take this item here and I can move it up a couple of spots in the backlog. I can move it back down in the backlog. I can group a bunch of things and move them up in the backlog. Move a bunch of things at once. There are lots of things I can do. I can just take an item and then can identify that I want to move this one right to the top of the backlog, right to the bottom of the backlog. So there's lots of tools here to move things around and prioritize it within the backlog. So once we get into wanting to create a sprint and actually get work booked for getting work done, we create a sprint first. Here's one that exists. We're using wrappers for this. This is called offset. So this is our sprint that we're working on. So let's pretend for a second that this is a new sprint we're just building. So this is the work we've done, and we think we can do a few more pieces of work. We can take items and we can just drag them up into the sprint like that, and that would put it in there. I'm not going to do that because that would mean the team would start working on it. I can right click and I can send it into the sprint. And again, I can pick multiple items if I have a group of things, and I can move them all into the sprint or all somewhere else. So that's how we manage the backlog. Is we'll sit with the product owner and the team, and we'll just move things up and down. We'll move things into the sprint. We'll move things out of the sprint, and you're physically moving things on this board. Once items are in the sprint, then they have to be managed across the statuses of how things are going. So that's when we move over and we start working on this the Scrum board. And you'll see there's different statuses. It's fairly basic: to do, in progress, verification, done. Teams may use different statuses. Some may skip a verification. Some may add in layers and have several things. It's configurable any way you want to do it. If you want lots of different statuses, you can use them. If you just want to have very simple, you can do that as well. Once items are in here, you can see that this board is categorized by the epics, so you can kind of see it's broken down. You can do it in different ways, again, depending on what works best for the team. Items that are in to do, if you want to, once you start working on them, it's physically moving them and dropping them into new statuses. So you drop it here. An item that's in progress can move to verification. You'll see you're limited to the sort of moves you're allowed to make. I'm not allowed in this particular configuration to go straight from in progress over to done. So it's going to tell me you can move it back here or you can move it there, but you can't move it there. If something is here, you can see that I can move it there or there, that sort of thing. The whole idea is to try to get work from the left to the right into a done state. And that's the basics of how you maneuver work in Jira. You'll create your backlogs here, creating items, create backlogs, and organize it, get things into the sprint when you're ready to work on it, and then manage your sprint day to day over here. And that's how you create and manage items in Jira.